A recent study shows that YouTube's recommendation videos are going against, in some cases, its own community guidelines, pushing forward sometimes illegal and harmful content. Daphne LaPrance-Ranguet is here with ZDNet to break this down. Daphne, tell us a little bit about the study and how they found these conclusions.
So the study came from a non-profit organization called Mozilla, and essentially, in short, what the findings was that YouTube's recommendation algorithm is recommending videos to users that these users then regret having seen, and in some cases even recommends content that goes against YouTube's own community guidelines. The way that Mozilla got to these conclusions is that they used a new tool that they launched about 10 months ago called Regrets Reporter. It's essentially a web extension that you can download and that you can use to report a YouTube video that you wish you hadn't seen, so a video that you regret in a way. So over the course of 10 months, they got about over 30, almost 40,000 users actually using Regrets Reporter. These users would report the videos that they regretted. They would report the title, the number of views on those videos, the description, and also the point of entry, which is crucial. The point of entry being whether they got there by searching for this video or because YouTube's recommendation algorithm recommended it. And so based on all this data, Mozilla got 41 academic experts to go through and try and link between the data and find out what they could conclude about YouTube's recommendation algorithm. They found that 70% of the content that had been reported as a regret came from the recommendation algorithm. They found that content that had been recommended by YouTube's algorithm was 40% more likely to be reported than content that had been searched for. They also found, interestingly, that there was often no link between the content that was recommended and then regretted and the videos that had been searched for by the user. So for example, to give you a bit more context, a user that was looking at nature survival videos, wilderness survival videos, quite quickly got prompted to watch videos about far-right extremism, and as you mentioned, they even found that some videos that were recommended by the algorithm went against YouTube's own community guidelines. So 160 videos that were flagged by the users as recommended videos were eventually taken down by YouTube because they were harmful and were deemed to go against the community guidelines. So it's quite a worrying report from Mozilla really that's showing that the second most visited website in the world that is the source of so much content and so much video content that we watch every day potentially is recommending videos that are really harmful to its own users.
Yeah, that is really worrying because, like you said, so many people are ingesting all of this information and using this platform. So, where did this campaign come from? Why did they think? I mean, obviously this was a good idea, but why come up with it now?
So as I said, it launched about 10 months ago, and as you said, it did come from this sort of observation from Mozilla that so many people were ingesting content from YouTube without really understanding where this content came from, or rather what content was pushed. There were many reports in the press and by different academics and researchers that showed that some people who got radicalized had been pushed to watch some videos of extreme content on YouTube. Of course, that is not to say that YouTube is responsible for radicalization, but it means that there might be a link there, there might be a contribution there. And so Mozilla started sort of looking at this and thinking about whether there was a chance that the algorithm was pushing these videos for vulnerable users, harmful videos, extreme videos, graphic videos. And to a degree, it seems to make sense because those videos are the ones that are going to be having the most views. So it makes sense for an algorithm to be pushing them. When Mozilla went to YouTube asking for essentially YouTube to disclose the inner workings of this algorithm to the public, or at least to the scientific community, they were met with rather firm resistance from YouTube. They have asked repeatedly for more transparency. YouTube never fully disclosed the algorithm and still hasn't to date. So essentially it was up to Mozilla to take things in their own hands, and that's what they did with this sort of crowdsourced campaign, Regrets Reporter, a web extension to be downloaded by the users themselves for users to contribute their own experiences. So obviously the methodology is flawed. There is a chance that some users will actively skew the data, report videos, and label them as recommended by YouTube's algorithm when they haven't. It's definitely not a perfect solution. But if anything, I think the message that Mozilla wanted to get across is that, if anything, this is reflective of the fact that we need more transparency from YouTube, because the best tools that we have so far are so flawed, and that's only because YouTube is not giving researchers the means to carry out reliable research.
Yeah, I think it's really important that even if we're not seeing immediate change, we have seen these red flags be raised. I think this was a really important study. So with that being said, is YouTube doing anything to change this? Are they acknowledging that there might be an issue?
So YouTube has acknowledged there is an issue with the recommendation algorithm, or at least that there has been. They've come up with various policy changes over the last few years, up to 30 policy changes, actually, according to YouTube themselves. And the statistic that they're pushing forward is that this has led to a 70% drop in the views for what they consider borderline content. So borderline content in YouTube's own terms is this content that's not harmful enough to be taken down, but just close to that sort of red line. So that they are saying that according to user surveys, users are happy with the recommendations. Now, again, the problem is that those are statistics pushed by YouTube, and they're not giving independent researchers the means to verify those statistics to make sure that there is independent verification going on. So that's a sticking point for non-profit organizations like Mozilla. Is the tide turning? Perhaps. It seems that the problem is becoming top of mind, at least for government officials and public policymakers. The fact that the algorithm lacks transparency was an issue that was brought up recently during the US Senate committee hearing. It's been on the radar during parliamentary questions here in the UK as well. And so activists are certainly hoping that eventually this will result in new rules being drafted that would force platforms to open up those algorithms that determine so much of what content we're watching, open this up to the public eye and open this up to independent researchers.
Yeah, this was a really important study that absolutely needed to be brought to life. Daphne, thank you so much for looking into it for ZDNet and then telling us all about it. Going forward, I look forward to hearing more and seeing what further actions YouTube takes, because this seems to be a really important topic. As always, thank you so much for watching. Just be sure to stick with ZDNet to see how this all unfolds.